So, hello everyone. A very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you based on whichever part of the world you're joining us from. I'm Rashmi Vaidya, one of the senior strategy experts at GMAT. Before we begin, if you can hear me and see me, could you please type a yes on the chat box? Okay, great. So, welcome to today's success story session where we take an in depth look at the stories of people who have aced the GMAT so that you can also walk their path to success. Today, we are very happy to have Ayush. Hi, Ayush. Thank you so much for taking the time out to do this.
Hey Rashmi, thanks.
So, Ayush scored a massive 760 with a Q50 and a V42 in his recent GMAT. The journey hasn't been particularly smooth, but it has a great and a wonderful ending. And now he's here to give back to the community and talk about his experience of acing the GMAT. And he's also going to share the insights from his journey. So, welcome, Ayush, and thank you again for taking your time out today. Uh, so, we will talk about that journey and how you made it to your dream score. Because I do remember one of the first communications that you ever sent us was, my dream score is 760, and this is where I want to get to. So, it's really good that we are finally there. But before we talk about the journey and how you made it to the top of the GMAT world, could you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Um, I work in a fintech industry. I graduated from IT Delhi in 2016. Post that, I have been working in finance technology, usually lending business. So currently, I'm working as a credits manager for one of the leading companies, payments company in India. And through my career, I think I already have around 7 years of experience. And through this journey, I've realized that I think technical part and work-wise things are good, but I believe that I've reached a stage where I think doing an MBA will provide me some extra set of skills which I need for the next phase of my career, and hence GMAT, which is required by most of the premium institutes. So that's why I decided to embark on this journey.
Okay, awesome. But given the kind of profile that you have and the kind of position that you hold, I'm sure you had a busy work schedule, and it must have been difficult to manage, your hectic work life with GMAT preparation. But really, kudos to you for having managed that. We'll talk about that and a lot of other things today. But let us start at the beginning. So, you've already told us that why is it that you decided that you want to do GMAT. So can you tell us when you did decide that yes, this is the test that I want to take because that'll help me further my career. So what were the first steps that you took in order to get started on this journey?
I think my journey has been long. I started planning or even hoping to do an MBA. I think a couple of years back. I think in 2019. So I was already set in the career. Like I had 4 or 5 years experience, and I was thinking about what next. Right. So I have been talking with a lot of my mentors, and there always had been. They always asked me to kind of think about like where do you want to go in your career, right? And the clear path was obviously I was very much interested in this profile which I am, and in order to reach the next step, kind of two steps only: either you do an MS, get more into a technical side of the things, or you do an MBA and move towards more a business side of things. I had been always interested more towards the business, which business along with some flavor of tech side as well. So I thought that MBA would be a best option, and started discussing with people, my peers who have been preparing or who have been studying at some of the institutes, and started discussing what first of all what GMAT,
Mhm.
and then what are the other requirements for these so-called good schools. So I was already planning to do from US. So I reached out to a couple of my college mates who are already studying there and try to understand what is required, how much experience is required. So typically, they advise that you are in a very good spot. Usually, average MBA applicant in these colleges are having experience of 4 to 5 years, and then what kind of score is required given that I belong to a very over-representative segment, right? Indian IT male kind of. So they kind of post you what kind of score ranges you should aim for in order to have a fighting chance in these colleges.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I started preparing. So initially, when I started preparing, it was more like, as I said, my friend, he already had a good score. He scored, I think,
Mm-hmm.
750. So I was like, hey, yeah, I'm set. Just tell me how does it work. So he just shared a couple of study material with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I started with that only. And
So
yeah,
it was mostly a self-study that you started
yes,
with.
I started with the self study. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was the
Got it.
journey.
So, what were the major challenges? Because clearly, the first attempt didn't go too well. So, what were the main challenges that you faced with
Yes.
studying on your own?
So, yeah, I think while preparing, while doing a self study, I did not realize that I was lagging so much in terms of accuracy as well as timing. Because when you're doing self study, the concept wise, I was very clear. Okay, I learned on the
Mm-hmm.
concept. I was using the OG to do the questions and all, but as I did not have any data driven approach, right? It was more like, "Okay, this question I attempted,
Mm-hmm.
I could get it right, I couldn't get it right." Sometimes you have to go to GMAT club to find the actual answer, or what the rationale behind, or what the logic to be used in that particular question. But it was not a very data driven approach. So I wasn't, I did not even know where would I land, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that after taking my first mock, that how far behind I was. Because while
Yeah.
question phase, everything was rosy, right? I could solve the questions very easily, and because I was taking
Mm-hmm.
too much of time, I was focusing on the questions, and but it did not help that much. So the first attempt which I took for the GMAT, I did not score very well, and it was clearly visible then that I lacked practice, not
Mm-hmm.
practice in terms of number of questions, but practice in terms of that accuracy, speed, agility you need to have,
Mm-hmm.
you need to
Mm-hmm.
master, and so those
Mm-hmm.
things were not there, and
Got it.
yeah, I knew,
So,
okay, I have to restart again. Yeah.
So I think it was more of a brute force approach wherein you solve a
Yeah.
lot of questions and try to learn through that. So I'm
Yes.
really glad that you are able to assess it and understand where the improvement is to come from and where you were lacking and decided that maybe you need a more structured approach, to focus on your GMAT prep so that you can get predictably to your target score. So once you decided on that yes, self study isn't working out. So how did you say go about choosing a particular course? What were the kind of criteria that you're looking at, and what was the viewpoint that you're looking at it from?
I, I I went through some of the reviews on the GMAT club as well, but um, uh, it was pretty much recommended by one of my friends who used GMAT as a platform, and she recommended that, okay, this is a very good platform and you should definitely use it, both in terms of verbal and quant. So I knew that I was
Mm-hmm.
lacking more in terms of verbal, like
Mm-hmm.
particularly SC part. The concept was, because while doing self study, there was not a very structured approach. I knew, okay, I have to study this, study that. You need to understand the grammatical concept. So I just went through those concepts, but there was not very structure to the whole process, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
reading through the reviews and talking to some of our friends, they recommend that verbal course is really fantastic. And one thing which they kind of you can say were very adamant about, or they kind of gave very good feedback, was about the
Mm-hmm.
test program, or the Scholinium, the engine which you have, right? That
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
will definitely help you out in terms of your accuracy and speed. And after reading the reviews as well, I felt ki a lot of students have kind of benefited from this
Mm-hmm.
program, so I just enrolled with it.
Got it. So it was one you heard from your peers, so you
Yes, I
went
got reviews.
ahead, looked at the review, and so
Yes,
made an informed decision as to go ahead with the course. So the first attempt was I think after the self study, the your score was a 640, right? And
yes,
that's when you decided you have to get into a structured process to, uh, you know, prepare for the GMAT. So, you know. Again, once you did join the course, again, it wasn't too structured because you had a busy work life and you had certain kind of challenges when you started preparing, right? So can you give us a bit more insight into what are the kind of challenges you faced and uh,
Yes.
what
Uh,
were the main obstacles? Yeah.
Yeah, I think major obstacle for me was I wasn't very consistent because of the work-life balance. I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like over the weekends I'll study for like 4 hours, but then over the weekdays I might not even study for 3 4 days straight because
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
get enough time, right, or even the motivation to do that. And that was taking too much of time. Even to finish up the course content, it took me around 3 months, or I think more than
Mm-hmm.
that, just to go through the content. And it was more like later on I realized that consistency was the key. And I think GMAT did create a GMAT does create a plan, right? You can choose where is it, when is exam and how much time you can dedicate, and even on the weekdays 1 and 2 hours should be sufficient. But I wasn't doing that, so that was a learning curve. I think later on I realized that the consistency was the key, and I think during my prep, why this stress so much was just because of this only. I think I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
manage effectively, so that was
Yes.
major challenge for me.
Yeah, and I think you also, I think, took the test when you weren't particularly ready. You
Yes,
know,
yes. So I
yes.
think in order to just to pressurize myself that because as I said, I was not very consistent, right? I did not had any deadline, right? So sometimes I'll study and then okay, I have some other things to do, some more important things to do.
Mm-hmm.
I would kind of relax or be okay, I'll do this later. So
Mm-hmm.
sort of, I talked with a couple of friends over this. How did you manage? So they recommended that have a fixed deadline because obviously in this
Mm-hmm.
exam it's always a floating deadline, right? You can always book a test whenever you want. So having a fixed deadline definitely pushes you. Okay, you have that deadline, you have to be ready by then. So I just booked a
Mm-hmm.
date. I think a couple of months back, a couple of months ahead, and I started preparing. And as I
Mm-hmm.
reached closer to the date, I knew that I wasn't ready. I haven't taken any mock by that point. I just finished the course. I just finished, I think, 4 or 5 days back the course before my exam, and I got in touch with one of the EGMAT consultant, and I think I remember it was like a quiz session going on with me and him over the email. I'm asking, okay, what should I do? Should I go and take the exam or not? He was like, no, no, you should definitely go. I was like,
Yes.
I'm not at all ready. And then I was like, what if I waste my time? He was like, you have 8 attempts. One attempt doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It was a back and forth, and then I decided, okay, I'll just go and for just the
Okay.
sake of it, because I already booked the dates and I'll just
Yeah.
go and take the exam. So
Yeah.
yeah, I took the exam and I think it gave some confidence because I knew I wasn't ready, but I scored a 690 then. So I was like, yeah,
Yes.
at least the concept wise, I was pretty good. And in that exam, I think the errors were pretty clear. I knew that
Mm-hmm.
there was a massive timing issue, so I ran out of time. I believe last 5 6 questions I just marked blindly. I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
do questions unmarked, so I just marked blindly, both for quant and verbal. So that was the one issue. And after the exam, I knew concept wise I was there, but practice wise, since I did not take any mocks and anything, so I didn't know how to manage to do those 35 questions in those 60 minutes time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I knew where I
Yeah.
had to work. So that was the next steps for me.
Got it. Yes, I think what you said was really good because, yes, that was not the score that you were looking for, but then you did not let that disappoint you or hold you back any which ways. You knew clearly what else is required to improve from there. You took positives out of it and areas to improve out of that performance, which is a great attitude to have, right? You don't let setbacks hold you back or uh, affect you affect you negatively in terms of your psyche, which is really really good. So even in this attempt, I think you've improved from your starting score of a
Yeah.
V29 to a V35, right? With not having prepared the right way or completed the preparation in that sense. So this was, yeah, there were positives to be taken out
Exactly. So in
from that.
World War II, I definitely felt that in SC, I felt that okay, like I could clearly compare with my previous attempt. This
Yeah.
time I knew about the questions. I could see what the errors
Mm-hmm.
are. I was much more confident while solving the questions. I took more time definitely because I did not have that practice to
Mm-hmm.
finish it off in like 90 seconds. But in terms of concepts, I knew okay, what had to be applied, what need to be looked at, those kind of things. So it
Got
definitely,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think after that particular attempt, you took a break and returned sometime late 2022. And this time around, I know because you and I work together, I know that you are set upon following a right structured approach to preparation. So let's look at that now. Let's look at how you went from that V29 to a V42, a massive 13-point improvement in verbal, right? So let's take it one subsection at a time. So in SE, you did mention that in SE the concepts were clear, but still you lacked that kind of a replicable accuracy or that confidence in SE, right? So if you could just tell us what were the major challenges that you faced, prior to really building your SE ability up.
I think major challenge was the approach wise. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew the concepts. Okay, what things are tested in subject verb error or verb tense error or pronoun or modifier, but it was more like the approach because you need to solve that question in 90 seconds, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I was going through one by one. Okay, going through the choices and trying to see okay which is not making sense, and then going back to the questions. Okay, what I could move or fix to get this question right. Or many times I'll just go through one by one. Okay, first look at SC, whether it's making sense or not. A lot of times I was comparing answer choices to
Mm-hmm.
uh, eliminate the odd one out, those kind of things. So
So what feels sounds good.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So even though I knew what grammatical concepts need to be followed, and it was taking a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
for me in order to solve the questions because I was more focused on the grammatical concept rather than following the meaning based approach, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think I learned later on that was more important and crucial. And once I started following the process, so uh, in the rush to solve the questions faster, I was kind of avoiding to follow the process, and that was harming me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once I started following the process,
Mm-hmm.
first break into sentence structure, understand the meaning, and then just dive into the answer choices. Just start eliminating one by
Mm-hmm.
one, and you'll be done with that.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds
Mm-hmm.
a lot. You have to do 3 4 steps, but once you go into the habit of it, I think it becomes very very easy. It becomes like a second nature to you. I, like, I know towards the end I was like while reading the question itself you start breaking the sentence into relevant parts, into relevant section without even putting in efforts,
Mm-hmm.
right? You start looking at okay, this is making sense, this is not making sense, this needs to be fixed. And understanding the meaning first definitely helps in hard questions. So in medium questions, it becomes very easy. Ki the answer choices are structured in such a way that you can just go through the choices and you will get to know, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is making sense, this is not making sense, this is the error. But as you move toward hard questions,
Mm-hmm.
the choices structure will change, right? So you cannot just compare the answer
Mm-hmm.
choices. A lot of nuances will be there. Like
Mm-hmm.
it the errors won't be staring at you, right? You have to find the
Yeah.
error, you have to understand the meaning, and many times you have to change the whole structure of the sentence. So those things, as you move towards a higher score range, I think it become more evident to me that following the structure approach is the way to
Mm-hmm.
go. You understand the meaning first, break into structure, and then only go to the answer choices. And then pre-thinking part was always there. Ki
Mm-hmm.
there's one way ki, you can go to the answer choices and then see which grammatical concept or which grammatical structure makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the other way is you know the meaning, you pre-think what needs to be fixed, and then you go to the answer choice,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're finding that or not. A lot of times you will not find that, but I think the pre-thinking part helps in terms of solidifying your
Mm.
understanding of the sentence, right? And then
Yeah.
that kind of increases your accuracy. It kind of uh, prevents you from making careless errors, right? So that
Got
helps.
it. Got it. Yeah, I think what really is impressive is you said initially it did take time. It didn't come easy, but you persisted and you were able to compress this whole process within that minute 30 that is required for an SE question, right? And in terms of accuracy, I know that this really helped you get to that 90th percentile plus ability in SE. So can you tell us in terms of confidence, how did that help? How confident were you of now rejecting a particular answer choice or selecting the right one?
I think I did go to the cons. I think go to the course couple of times because as I said that there were a lot of breaks during my preparation, and
Hmm.
I could easily see that after taking a break, my confidence was low. I couldn't see the solution of the question very clearly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, as you read, you start understanding what the error is, how you need to break this sentence, and then once you start practicing more and more, it gradually becomes very 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 clear, right? And that happens because you start solidifying the approach which needs to be
Mm-hmm.
followed, the steps needs to be followed, right? So that increased the accuracy a lot. Like initially when I was not following the process, I was taking more time and I was not very confident about rejecting answer choices because in hard
Mm-hmm.
questions a lot of answer choices are very tricky. Like it's not a very like they might be grammatically correct, but the meaning which needs to be conveyed through the sentence uh, kind of if you don't know that, you won't be able to reject those choices. So
Mm-hmm.
once I
Mm-hmm.
started following the process, I saw definitely improvement in my accuracy as well as the time I was taking to solve the questions. And uh, in hard questions I could easily see my accuracy improving. I started with like what 30 40th percentile score
Yeah.
in hard questions, and then it improved to 50 plus, I think 70 also. But
Yeah.
yeah, with time and with practice, I think uh, the crux was just keep following the process again and again.
Mm-hmm.
I know with first 10 questions it feels like okay, you're spending a lot of time, it's not gaining anything, but as you reach to 30 40
Mm-hmm.
questions, I think it starts building on you.
Yeah.
Uh, you start applying the process without any effort, and by just reading the questions you start breaking it into parts. You start understanding key, okay, this is wrong, this is right, this is the meaning, and this is the GMAT trying to test. Because I think towards the later end, you start kind of um, uh, relating ki what all different things GMAT can test, right? Because there are
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
these certain set of concepts which GMAT can
Yeah.
test, right? And once you have so much of practice, you kind of while reading the question itself, you get to know, okay, this is being tested, and the answer choice would be along these lines only.
Yeah. That's very well put. Understand what is asked,
Yeah.
learn the process, and then practice it till it becomes second nature to you, right?
Yes.
So awesome. Now, CR, I remember you telling that you th- you were intrinsically good with CR, considering the kind of work that you're doing, but you still somewhere found that you were not able to replicate that kind of an accuracy across all the quizzes or tests, and you found the need to still do the course. So can you just explain why, despite feeling that you're good at CR, you still decided to you know um, go through all the files, do the course to really
Yeah.
bolster up the CR ability?
So in CR, the challenge was different. So it wasn't that I couldn't understand the passage or couldn't make out, okay, what is the flaw or what needs to be strengthened or what is required. And even going through the answer choices, once you start spending more time, I could find the answer. But the challenge was doing that into a fixed time, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you spend 3 minutes into that question, you will obviously solve that question. But not having that approach, key, I was just going through the answer choice. So I'll read the questions and okay, I need to strengthen it. And then I'll just go through the answer choice and try to see, okay, whether this is strengthening, whether this is strengthening, whether this is strengthening or
Mm-hmm.
not, right? And for medium difficulty questions, it would work. But for hard difficulty questions, it would become much more difficult because there could be a couple of choices which are both strengthening and uh, only one of them is right, right? Two of them
Mm-hmm.
can't be right.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge for me. I felt that okay, I'm good at CR, but my accuracy for hard questions were not that good. And once I
Mm-hmm.
started going through the course, I realized what I was liking. I think
Mm-hmm.
again, two things I think I learned. One was the inference part. I was very bad at inference type of questions because
Mm-hmm.
then again, there you need to develop some insights first, and then only you need to
Mm-hmm.
go to the answer choices. And the second was um, pre-thinking. That was definitely a game changer for me in CR. That because that increased my accuracy a lot, and then
Mm-hmm.
second part
Mm-hmm.
was it helped me solve the questions faster and
Mm-hmm.
like with much more confidence. Like after going through
Mm-hmm.
the passage, you will pre-think, okay, what is required, what is the flaw, what you need to kind of fix this, or if you want to weaken it, then what you need to weaken it. If you want to strengthen it, what you need to strengthen it, and then
Mm-hmm.
pre-thinking kind of provides you such depth of understanding of that passage that once you start going through the answer choices, those tricky choices you can eliminate very easily, and then
Mm-hmm.
since you have such good understanding about the passage, it becomes faster to analyze the answer choices as well. And many times, I think, many times that whatever you pre-thought would be the answer choice itself. So
Yeah.
you read the answer choice and you'll know, yeah, this is what I wanted, and then that feeling is very good. कि, okay, हाँ,
Yeah.
it gives you confidence. कि, हाँ, I know this is what was required uh, uh, to solve this question, and this is the answer choice which is
Mm-hmm.
correct.
Yeah.
So,
Uh, I think what stands out in what you said, yes, pre-thinking helped, but also the fact that it sort of seems counterintuitive that it's a time test, and here you've read the passage, the argument, and then you're taking that 15 10 15 seconds to pre-think, while your urge will be to quickly look at the answer choices and choose one, right? It does seem like you're taking longer, but as you said, it just helps you cut down so much on the answer choice analysis bit of it that
yes.
eventually you are able to solve a CR question in maybe a speedier manner,
Exactly. I
right?
think that holds across all the sections. Like initially,
Mm-hmm.
initially it feels like you following the process is eating up your time, but as you follow the process all across, I felt even in SC, CR, and more importantly in RC, um, once you follow the process, uh, even in while doing the process, it might take extra 10 seconds, but it will definitely help you save 15 to 20 seconds in answer
Mm-hmm.
choice evaluation. So it's net saver
Hmm.
for
Yeah. So we should, I think, coming from you, that is something, because I know that from a non believer, you turned a believer
yes,
from
I feel
somebody. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's really nice. So SE done, CR done. RC was inherently an area that you had to put in some extra work on too, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
that was a challenging area. So
Mhm.
can you just explain, how you went from, phobia for RC passages to somebody who had that 70-75% accuracy for hard RC passages?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think RC for me it was more like depending on the passage. If the passage is related to science, astronomy, or those kind of things, I was very much okay with that. कि ठीक है, I can understand the
Mm-hmm.
passage and I can solve the questions. Again, in the hard questions,
Mm-hmm.
it would become somewhat difficult sometimes, but I could solve the questions. I was not very afraid of those passages, but when I see humanities kind of passages, when things are very abstract, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't concentrate. कि, okay, what is like I couldn't link one passage with another, and then when I reached the question statement, I would have to get back to the passage to try to see, okay, uh, whether this making sense or not, or where to find this particular answer choice. So
Mm-hmm.
that was my initial difficulty in RC passages, and as difficulty
Mm-hmm.
increased, this difficulty kind of increased many folds. Right, I think
Mm-hmm.
it happened in the GMAT exam as well. I think the third attempt which I took, and the one reason I couldn't score very good in that attempt was because of this
Mm-hmm.
only. I got one RC passage, and it was humanities passage, and I
Mm-hmm.
was I was just blown away. I couldn't understand a thing in that particular passage, and I spent so much time in answering that particular passage that I was running out of time. So section one and two went good. Section 3
Yeah.
hard passage. I faced this one, and everything went like out of line. I was after that I was just rushing trying to complete the section, and because of this I kind of um, made some error on SC and CR as well, so that kind of costed me more. So
Yeah.
that was a drawback in RC, and I think after that attempt, I think I reached back to you, and I was like, I have to work on my RC, and then I think
Yeah.
I started some of the exercises and went through the course again, tried to pick up key what needs to be done, how to approach the RC passage, and once I started following the exercises, the concept as well as how to read the passage. I think
Yeah.
the major difference was brought by how to engage in the passage, because
Mm-hmm.
before that I was like, okay, I was just rushing, okay, understanding the passage on a high level. Given it's a given it's a hard passage, I know that I have to spend a lot of
Mm-hmm.
time on the questions. Them so there's a urge, ki, okay, read the passage quickly and then just rush to the answer choices, and then again, as you can say, it was more like shooting yourself in the foot, right? He, because you rushed on the passage, then you have to come back after reading the question stem, so you will spend more time.
Yeah.
But while going through the course, it was recommended that spend ample amount of time on the passage, try to analyze, try to link different paragraphs to each other, try to understand what the
Mm-hmm.
author wants to say, because in GMAT, all the passages are very very structured. There is a reason
Yeah.
for which the passage is written, and once I started realizing this, I was more into the passage, trying to understand why the passage is written, what kind of things might be
Mm-hmm.
asked in the passage, how each paragraph is linked to the next paragraph, what are the assumptions, what is the author's tone, where are you seeing any contrast coming in, or those kind of
Mm-hmm.
words, right? You pick up those word key. The author is making 180-degree turn, right? The author is
Yeah.
against this particular concept, or the author is for this concept. Those kind of things. When you start absorbing those things, obviously it takes a bit more time, but then answering the choices were like 30 seconds task, right? Once you read the question stem, you know, okay, uh, this was written in the passage, you have understood it so well that you don't
Yeah.
even have to go back to the passage, right? So it was, so
True.
when I started earlier, it was like I'll read the passage in like 3-4 minutes, and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
spend 1.5 minute per questions. But once I started following the approach for hard questions, I was okay with spending more time on the passage, maybe 4.5 to 5 minutes on the passage, maybe 5.5 minutes as well. I have spent on some other passages, but
Mm-hmm.
then those three questions, three hard questions, you will able to solve them in like 30 seconds and with more
Yeah.
accuracy. So uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like as much time you will spend on analyzing and understanding the passage, your accuracy and timing for solving the questions will improve drastically, and then it
Yeah.
will kind of overcompensate for other things as well.
Okay.
So
So,
that was
so even a hard passage you are able to solve in say 6 to 7 minutes, right?
exactly.
Including the questions because you've spent that time reading. And as you've rightly said, right, it is not the subject of a particular passage that should intimidate you. You know, if you follow that structured process as in read consciously, apply those right strategies that you mentioned, then be it humanities or science or economics, everything should be just right up your sleeve. Uh,
Yes.
so really glad that we you took that approach and that also really helped you improve NRC. Now, one thing I think that we haven't spoken about till now is the amount of time that you spent and how meticulous you were with your error log, right? Uh, I know it's a little bit of a tedious process, having to just look at every attempt of yours, even if you gotten it right, understand where you're deviating from the approach and fill it in. But just give us some insight into, uh, how did you go about overcoming this resistance that one might have for Verilog and how that really helped you get to that V42.
Yeah. So I think at start as well, I did not understand the value of this error log, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like I'll go through, understand the questions, go through the solution very diligently, try to understand every nook and crook of the solution. But writing in your own words and trying to analyze both things, why you missed that answer, correct answer choice, and why you marked the incorrect answer choice. It definitely helps. And a lot of times we feel that key log is more like key, you have to use it for revision, right? Even if you don't use it for revision, just the process of kind of writing in the log, right? When you are
Mm-hmm.
analyzing that particular concept, it definitely helps. So even for me, I did maintain a brief error log, but I didn't go through all the questions all the time. I just marked a couple of
Mm-hmm.
questions which I knew ki this will provide me the most value out of it. I'll just go through them, and others were just at the time of as the time of solving the questions, right? I just needed to note it down so that I was clear about the understanding of the question, right? So uh, it helps in both ways. First of all, when you are creating the error log, it definitely helps you um, have a better clarity about the solution, as well
Mm-hmm.
as if you are lacking, what needs to be improved. And then second, um, obviously at the time of revision, if you want to revise it quickly, you'll get to know that. Third would be another point which we can add, that is once you start meticulously adding the error, then you can start looking at some patterns, right? If you are maybe
Yeah.
uh, if you are making all the mistakes in, let's say, one particular type of questions, right? In, let's say, SC,
Mm-hmm.
all the pronoun type of questions you are making incorrect, right? So obviously scholarly name provides an insight as well, but error log also kind of helps you in that. I think once you have a very detailed error log, I think most of the concepts are there, so you don't even
Yes.
need to go back to the concept. You can just revise your error log and then start taking mocks, so it helps in
Yeah.
that way as well.
Very true. I think it's not just about you know quizzing or attempting a lot of questions, but to make every incorrect question count, because you get a
Exactly.
question wrong because there is an underlying reason. It could be a conceptual gap. It might be that you did not apply the right process. Till you identified that and fixed it, there's that tendency to repeat the mistake again.
Exactly.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and how much ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I was saying how much ever we might believe in our power of retention, after a while we do tend to forget. So
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
think that having it in the error log comes really handy. But
Mhm.
yes,
I think this is majorly true for GMAT. I think it's not about solving a lot of questions, as you correctly pointed out. It's about maybe solving limited amount of questions, but gaining
yeah.
most knowledge out of it. Because, as I said, there are only limited concepts which are tested in GMAT, right? And as you solve
Mm-hmm.
more and more questions, there will be just variation of those concepts. They'll make subject verb error, right? They'll make in verb tenses, they'll play around past perfect tense, those kind of things. But
Yeah.
if you're not gaining as much as you can from each particular questions, solving 100
Mm.
questions or solving 10 questions won't matter, right? It will be the same thing if you are not gaining anything out of it. So I'll suggest keep solve less questions maybe, but try to be as thorough as possible in those questions, like go through all the choices, why each
Mm-hmm.
choice needs to be rejected in the solution, right? Because a lot of times maybe you rejected because of some other reason, and there could be some better reason, or maybe by luck you just rejected that choice, right? Maybe your thinking was not correct, but if you go through the choice,
Mm-hmm.
you it will definitely benefit you. It will kind of it will provide you confidence. First of all, confidence that you rejected the choice because of the correct reason, and even if you rejected the choice because of the incorrect reasons, you'll learn what is the correct reason to reject the particular choice.
Yeah. So when you answer a question, it's not just why you selected the right option choice, but also why you rejected the four wrong ones, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah. So awesome. This really helped you get there. Your verbal ability, I know that looking at all the data that we had on the platform, it had really, really gone up. But with quantum, between your second attempt, when you came back after the break and you tried to assess where you are in terms of quant, unfortunately for somebody who started out with a good ability in quant, your quant had dropped to a Q46, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Right? So uh, I'm sure being an IITian, that might not be, you might not have been very happy with it, that score. But tell me, how did you go about improving from there? Because from a 46, you improved to a Q50 in your
Yeah.
latest attempt?
So for Quant, so I was always more comfortable with Quant as compared to verbal, and but the approach was obviously mine approach
Mm-hmm.
was just brute force key. I know how to solve the questions. I know concepts. I can um, just go through and power
Mm-hmm.
through the solution, right? But then in GMAT, uh, uh, because of this brute force approach, I was spending more time. Though the accuracy
Mm-hmm.
was fine, whatever questions I was attempting, I was able to solve it. But since I was not very clear or structured in my approach, I was spending more time than required on these questions. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really a drawback, and because of which I couldn't achieve a good score in quant. And then
Mm-hmm.
second difficulty was for this data sufficiency kind of questions, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To kind of tell that whether A is sufficient, B is sufficient, those kind of questions where you have to create cases. So that
Yep.
requires a lot of structure. You need to know how to approach the question. You cannot just power through, right? So I think these two things I lagged, and once I went through the course, I picked up on these two things: how to approach question, like how you need to simplify the question statement first. I
Mm-hmm.
was never doing that. I just read the question statement and okay, where this needs to be solved. Let's dive into it and let's see where it goes. But when you start simplifying the question statement, then it kind of massively reduces the amount of work to be done. Because once you
Mm-hmm.
resolve the question statement, the question could boil down to as simple as whether the number x is prime or not, or whether it's odd or even, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then that kind of uh, it reduces the amount of work which needs to be done, and then hence the amount of time you need to spend on that question. So following this approach definitely helped me reduce my time to solve a question. And the second was making those cases, right? So I learned I think for algebra and number properties, there were a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
especially number properties, there were a lot of cases to be made, right? Whether it's a prime, non-prime, or even those kind of cases need to be made. And
Mm-hmm.
once I started getting a hang of okay, how many cases needs to be made, what all things need to be looked at, I started my accuracy in that section also improved. So my overall score also improved.
Yeah, I think after having done the course, I think across all the mocks and your attempts, it was always a consistent
Yeah.
Q50, if I'm not wrong. Yes, uh, and also the great thing was because there were these certain clear demarcated areas of weakness
Mhm.
coming from the kind of strength that you had previously. The pace also helped you save a lot of time.
Yes.
I think it helped you save over 52 hours of your prep time, but still, really helped you improve by, uh, about 4 points to get that Q50. So, all in all, I think this time around, you really leveraged all the tools that were at your disposal. You ensured that you checked all the boxes,
Yeah.
crossed all your T's, dotted all your I's, but then your third attempt went well. It's not that it didn't go well, but it was still not that score that you were looking for, which you had put in your first mail, that this is the score that I want. So
Yeah.
can you tell us how that third attempt went? What was the score, and what do you think was the thing that was still maybe lacking, or I don't know what happened?
Yes. Uh, Third level, I think everything was fine. The main issue was, as I said, RC. It kind of threw me off. There was one passage
Mm-hmm.
which I couldn't digest, and I spent a lot of time in that passage, and because of which my other section suffered. CR, I knew that passage was simple, but just because I was rushing, I couldn't. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
know whether I solved it correctly or not. Even for SC, and since I was rushing, I was not able to concentrate properly, and that's why my verbal went bad. I think quant wise I did okay in that attempt as well, but in verbal RC was the killer,
Mm-hmm.
and because of which I couldn't achieve the score I wanted to.
Mm-hmm. So, how was you feeling? It was your third attempt, and this time you had really, pushed
Yes.
yourself up. So, what did you feel about the score,
Um,
and what were you
Bit
thinking?
disappointed, yeah, because in mocks I was scoring good
Yes.
consistently, and um, I was confident that I could get a good score. Uh, so it was definitely a bit disappointing uh, to see the performance. But at the back of my head, I knew why I couldn't score the score I wanted. So I had a plan then and there, कि, okay, what needs to be fixed. But though again, there was kind of a back and forth. Like I wasn't really sure to take another attempt. Initially, I was sure, okay, I'll take another attempt. But then, as I talked with more people, they're like, "Okay, 720 is also a good score. You can start applying." But I was a bit adamant, कि नहीं, because I knew what was the issue and how I could fix it. So I was like, okay,
Yes.
let's take another attempt and see how it goes. So I worked on my on my RC to improve.
Mm-hmm.
I could see my hard accuracy improving for RC, and I was much more confident in RC again. Uh, I
Mm-hmm.
practiced. I think I practiced humanities passages. I started reading some of the, I think some of the websites you mentioned, in order to get a hang of these kind of passages or these kind of topics. And I diligently make sure to apply all the reading, what is called reading strategies, right? There are 8 to 9 reading
Yes.
strategies we need to apply. So earlier I was like, yeah, it's reading. It's nothing new. I have been doing this whole life, right? So I could read it easily. But making that conscious effort to focus on each single word, because each word could make or break the passage, right? There could be a sly word which could be there, which Jiva had put there to kind of
Mm-hmm.
throw you off, right?
Yes.
So focusing on each word, what is the tone of the sentence, how, what is
Mm-hmm.
the nature of the passage, and then um, uh, the author's tone and everything, right? And after reading the passage, trying to summarize the passage in your mind, trying to create a structure. Okay, first the author mentioned this, then he mentioned this.
Mm-hmm.
Why did the author mention this? What is the purpose of mentioning the second part? And then how it led, how it all led to the third part, and then finally conclusion, and then the main point of everything. So when you start solidifying all these things in your mind, like before even reaching to the question
Mm-hmm.
stem questions, pre-thinking, कि, okay, this was happening in the passage, whether you understood the passage correctly or not, that was very important,
Mm-hmm.
and diving into the answer choices. And then once I started following this approach, I could see कि I was much more comfortable in humanities kind of passages as well, and my accuracy in other passages also improved because I was much more involved in the passage. Yeah.
Got it. It's really nice. You did not let this score hold you back. Again, you took that approach that you had taken earlier. Just try to understand where the improvement is going to come from, and understand that yes, this was not a true reflection of where you were at. Right, as you mentioned, you had had good mock scores before that attempt, so you knew that it was uh, a small little thing that you had to fix in order to really get to that score. So there wasn't much of a gap between your third and fourth attempt, very few days. But then again, you were ready, you took mocks to assess, they went well. But still, it was your fourth attempt, end of the day, right? So,
Mhm.
how, if we come to the D day, how was your mindset going there? Were you confident this time? You knew that you had it in you this time to finally crack it and get to that score that you've always dreamt of.
Yeah, I was confident, but at the same time, I was like, कि things could not work out this time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like last time, if I could get one passage which will throw me off or one question. So a lot of time, I think it's bit unpredictable as well, right? You can prepare
Mm-hmm.
everything, but you
Mm-hmm.
can see one question uh, which you are not able to click, right? Ki what is required. So it could happen. So even though I was confident, and I think when I talked to you about after that third attempt, you were like, okay, this was a fluke, right? 720 was a fluke, because all of my stats were saying, कि, okay, I should have
Yeah.
received a better score. And so I was confident, कि, yeah, as per my performance in scholarly and everything and the mocks, I was performing good. So I was, let's say, 80% confident, but at the back of my head, 20% there was, okay, things could go bad this
Mm-hmm.
time as well. And while taking the test, I think things went bad. At least I felt that things went bad. Um, I wasn't very confident after taking the verbal section, so I took
Mm-hmm.
that first. And after taking the section, I knew कि okay, I did well, but I wasn't very sure कि how well did I do. But I was
Mm-hmm.
rushing towards the end because I was overcautious while answering each choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I took more than required time in the third section because I knew okay, now these are the hard questions. So
Mm-hmm.
first and second section I kind of breezed through. But in the third and fourth, I think third especially, I started putting more time because last time also I faltered in this, and in RC especially, I was putting in more time. So I was rushing again, but I did manage to finish the section in time. But I wasn't that confident. I felt that okay, this time again I screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
I have to come again after 15 days. So that was my approach. But ठीक I took a break and then I came back. So I was like, okay, now it's Quant. Let's go
Yeah.
through it.
Mm-hmm.
So started doing Quant again, and it went okay. And but again, at the back of my head, I had that key. Okay, I screwed up this time. I have to come again. So uh, the at times I was hoping he just give up. Okay, let's go home. I have to come back again. I have to go through this whole process. So Quant, okay, I did Quant. It wasn't much of a strain. Okay, let's go through the Quant. But IRAW, I was like, why am I doing this? Let's go home. Let's see what is the score. There is always a tendency now. What is the score? Let's see. So
Yeah.
but I kind of held back. ठीक है, let's go through it. Let's go through it. Uh, ठीक है, let's go through it. 2 more hours, right? 2 more hours. So I just went through the other two sections, IR and AWA, and then I saw the score and I was like, okay, what the hell happened? How did I get this score? I wasn't even expecting this particular score.
Yeah. So,
It was
boy,
yeah, I
are
was
we
surprised.
glad you went through with it?
Yes, yes. I would have kicked myself if I had done anything bad in IR even though so
Yeah.
I think yeah, finally I got a score that is good because after looking at the score, that was the first thing that popped in my head. Ki, thank God you scored well in IR AWA. IR especially AWA I did not get at that time because in IR I think I was again running out of time. The last question I
Mm-hmm.
just marked an MD and I think out of luck it became right or maybe because of some algorithm I got a good score.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, after looking at the score, I was surprised. I was like, okay, finally, this journey has come to a conclusion. So
Yeah.
I was happy.
I think you're underplaying it a bit. When I spoke to you, you said the moment you saw this score on the screen, you really wanted to get up and,
Yes, yes.
and
I remember I was like, yes, finally again, and I just turned back, and then you later was like, sit down, sit down, sit down. I'm coming there. So,
yeah,
because I
I'm
was not
sure.
expecting. I was like, I'll get 700 or something. But looking at Sanskrit, I was like, oh, what the hell happened? Maybe it's my lucky day.
Yeah.
So
I think the key takeaways here are one, always focus on the positives. There will be that 10%, 20%, of that anxiety that is there, but not to let that, take most of your, um, bandwidth in terms of your brain power. Focus on that 80%, that confidence that you've built through preparing. Two, never give up. You
yeah.
never know how the test is gone till you see that score on the screen, right? So
Exactly,
yes.
exactly. Like last time. So earlier, I have gone through a lot of analysis about the GMAT, ki how it scores, how the engine works. Ki, okay, it'll give you a medium question and then hard and hard. So, but after that time, I was like, ki, I don't know how it works. I wasn't expecting this good score. I don't
Yeah.
know how it works. So you don't know
Yes.
until then.
Yeah, never say die till it is dead done, right? And I think it's not just about this particular attempt. Throughout your journey too, I know that personally because I've worked with you. You had a lot of professional obstacles, personal hurdles too. There were job changes, busy schedules, travel all along the way. It was a journey, which had a lot of hurdles and setbacks. In terms of scores that weren't ideally your scores. So I think what really culminated it well is you saying yes, I believe I can do it, and really working till you did it, right? That's really really amazing, and congratulations to you on that. uh, but at the same time, I think we would also like to understand, because a lot of people who do prepare for GMAT are working professionals who are trying to juggle their busy, hectic work schedule along with their preparation. So tell us, how were you able to, you know, still focus on the prep despite having these many hurdles and roadblocks along the way?
Uh, I think it took longer for me. I believe somebody who is more consistent could do it in a shorter span of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think uh, the only thing that matters is being just consistent. Keep doing it, keep doing it. I think at the end you will be able to get what you deserve. That's it. So
Mm-hmm.
with time, I think my hectic schedule was there, but I would try to squeeze in at least an hour and half an hour, maybe sometime, just to revise or maybe just look at some of the questions or maybe just go through my error log because that will help
Mm-hmm.
me revise some of the stuff. On weekends, I was mainly focusing on spending more time on my preparations.
Yes.
Weekdays, I will leverage any holidays coming in, uh, those kind of things only. Yeah.
Yes. No, I agree with you when you say that for you it did take longer. But what I do know is that even though there were breaks, even after a break, you came back stronger, because you kept revising and referring to your notes and solving. You never went out of touch,
Yes.
from your preparation, maybe between your second and third attempts because you literally took a complete break there.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was always, it was not like, yes, you did not prepare for a week. It was not like your ability is gone down and we have to brush it up and build it again. So that staying in touch is, again, I think, super important. That really helped you not get too affected by those breaks that you had. Um,
Exactly. I think once you take a break, I think your ability definitely decreases a bit. I realized that after taking that break after the second attempt, I was like, I felt that I'm starting from scratch. I think I spent 2 hours revising the whole concept, and then I think I mailed you. Okay, now I have done the
mhm.
revision. Now I know what to
Yeah.
do. So, uh, like as I said, Ki, if you're consistent, I think even a 1 day, 2 day break, it's fine as long as you come back to your preparations. But I will advise not to take a longer break because then
Hmm.
uh, your ability will definitely decrease. Your ability to solve the questions, to see through the solutions. Uh, just by reading the questions, you will get to know okay what is wrong, what is right. That kind of decreases, and I've seen that happening to me, and I had to go through all the concepts, go through all the practice quizzes, take multiple quizzes just to uh, get back in that zone, and that
Hmm.
definitely took a lot of time for me, and I could have easily avoided that if I could have just continued after my second attempt. Yeah. So,
Yeah, very true. But I'm really glad that you persevered despite all these odds and did not give up on your dreams. And really, really happy that it paid off in the end, right? So what are your plans coming ahead? I know that you're working on your application cycles and all that stuff. So yeah.
Uh,
So how is that
I've
going?
been, yeah, I've been in touch with a couple of consultants trying to understand this process. So I was so involved into GMAT prep, I did not work much on this part of the process as well. So I'm like, okay, I'm again at ground zero. I have to
Mm-hmm.
go through a lot of these things. So I'm just getting in touch with a lot of my peers. Okay, uh, uh, what to do, whom should I approach? I don't really
Mm-hmm.
think that I'll take help of some consultants so that I can expedite this process. But I've been watching some of the videos. I think last month, not last month, this month only, there were a couple of webinars, MBA spotlights by a lot of these colleges. So I did attempt that, and that provided me good insights about what these colleges are looking for, how to structure applications, what exactly they are looking in your essay, those kind of things. So just going through a lot of these things, I've been watching some of the videos on GMAT Club as well to get to know what is required or not. But I think I'm already almost done with um, finalizing some of the consultants, and then I think I'll start my preparation journey. I think the major task would be creating a story and essay for you. Apart from that, I think you need to get other required documents, all those things as well. I think IELTS is again pending. I have to take that as well. So I'll start preparing for that as well soon. But yeah, I'm still kind of overwhelmed with a lot of things to be done. And I hope that I'm planning to apply in R1. So I hope I'm not that late.
Okay.
Just 2 months left, but yeah, I'm just rushing into that.
I'm sure you'll pull through. All of us here are rooting for you. So, I'm sure you'll get into the school that you really have your eye on. So, finally, just to wrap things up, we will open the floor for Q&A, but do you have any tips that you would want to share with our audience here who are also looking to ace the GMAT?
I'll say believe in um, the structure or the content or the course structure. I think I was not 100% believing it in first, but once I started following the things taught and to be applied, it became so easy. And
Mm-hmm.
if right now, if I have a choice to redo things, I'll say that two things I'll change. First, I'll become more consistent, and the second thing would be start following the course structure to the T. Everything is there for you to ace the GMAT, and if you just follow it diligently, I think you'll pull through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And never give up on your dreams.
Yes.
Yes. So, Ayush, thank you so much for this. I know you're busy with your work, with the applications, and the whole thing that is happening around you. But thank you for taking this time out for us today. And now we'll take questions from the audience. There are some questions that were already put up. Let's take them first, and then we'll open it up for um, you know any more questions that people might have, right? So let me look for it. Okay, Antonio was asking how different is your prep for quant than it is for verbal to get that high score. I think we've already answered this, Antonio. So if you have any further questions here, you can let us know. uh, think वर think was asks Indian students कैसे start करते हैं कहाँ से? I Do you want to take this up? Where I think it does not matter whether they're Indian students or students from outside India. How do you start with your preparation? Let's make this question into that.
Yeah. Um, I think in order to start the prep, I think GMAT Club, I think it's a very effective tool in order to start a prep. You can watch tons of video how to start the prep, and then I think you need to first. I'll suggest take a mock first. That will give you a baseline where you stand at, what your weak areas are, uh, where you need to focus more on, whether quant, verbal, and even in for verbal, which sections you need to focus on. Then I think I'll suggest uh, pick a course. Maybe I don't know. Like I'm always comfortable with a structured approach, so I wanted a course. But I know some of my friends who did well by self study as well. So
Mm-hmm.
either get some self study courses or enroll in a course, and then just go through whatever are the weak areas as per your mock, and then starts go through the concepts and start taking those questions and see whether you're improving those areas or not. And then I think just go step by step, fix one area, then again analyze your mock again, then fix another area. Once you feel that okay, you have fixed all the areas, and you can reattempt, you retake a mock and see whether you have improved or not, and then what other areas are left to improve, and then
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
iterate on the process. I think that should be the way to go.
Yeah. So figure out where you're starting, what
Exactly.
needs to be improved, and then assess whether you've improved once you put in the preparation. Awesome. So Swama asks, how does one practice RC effectively?
Yes. So RC, there's a tendency to read it like a story, but as I said, the the passages in GMAT are very very structured. There's a purpose and why that particular passage is written. Even each paragraph, how they are connected. Um so see it this way that GMAT went out of their way, put in some effort to publish that passage, right? And you know that there will be a couple of questions coming out of that passage. So you need to, when you're reading the passage, first of all, get involved in the passage. Why the author has written that passage? What needs to come out of it? What the author is trying to convince? Whether it's just a general passage trying to provide you knowledge, whether they are trying to convince you about something, whether the author is not happy and trying to undermine something, right? So let's say, take an example, if the author is trying to undermine something, right? So how it will start? It will start with, it will give you some context about the topic which the author is discussing. Then maybe he'll start with what others think, and then he will tell you that why they are wrong and why what the author thinks, right? So there is a structure. The author wants to undermine or wants to tell you the negatives about that particular topic. So he started with by providing context and what is the general awareness or general consensus about that particular topic, and then uh, why the author thinks this is wrong and what is the right way, right? So if you start to following this structure, then obviously once you go to the question, then there will be key, what is the main point of the passage, right? So you know key author is trying to kind of provide you negatives or provide you some context about that passage, right? Those kind of things. And then could be there could be that what this passage means, right? What is the purpose of that passage? Then you'll know. Let's say the second passage, which was provided to provide to give information, what is the general consensus uh, about the topic in the public, right? Or could be the third passage where the author kind of undermines that passage. So once you understand the structure, what the author wanted to do with the passage, then I think solving the questions will be very easy.
That's great. I think we had a similar question from Mike, which said he was asking, he or she been struggling with RC. I think this answers that question too. You know how to really bolster up your RC ability. So Krishnan asks, can you share your last 10 days routine before the test, and how many mocks did you take in the last 10 days?
I think I took two mocks right in the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
In one of the mocks I scored very good, but the last mock I did not score good. I think I scored a 720, and I did go through the mock analysis and I realized why I did not score well. There were just a couple of questions. So in that mock, I think I did not score 15 quant. I scored, I think, 48 or
Yes.
49 in quant. Yeah. And I knew why I made that mistake. So there was a very blatant error which I made, which I should not have. So it wasn't something about the concept part. It was more of a approach thing. Similarly, in verbal as well, I couldn't solve one of the CR board questions correctly because I misread it. Similarly, in CR, I think I did two CR incorrectly because of not reading the answer choices very thoroughly. So I knew ki, this is not a concept issue, but it was more of a wake up alarm. Ki, okay, you need to focus more as well as you need to be very conscious when you are solving the questions, and that's why I think uh, that is the reason why I put a lot more time in the GMAT exam as well in the third section, due to which I was rushing, but it stemmed out of this only. So yeah.
Got it. Awesome. So Dipesh asks, it is relatively easy to go from V20s to V30s, but to cross V40 barrier seems impossible for me. So how was your experience with crossing the V40 barrier, and what helped you the most?
Um, I think it was more like taking the mocks and then understanding. It was a step-by-step process. I'll say it was a very iterative process. I started with a mock. I was at V35. I analyzed where I lack, whether it's SC, RC, or CR. I figured out, okay, it's SC. Then started working on SC, how it needs to be improved. And I took a couple of quizzes in SC, did some of the practice exercises, and took a couple of custom quizzes, and I realized, okay, now my SC ability is at par. Then I picked RC and similarly CR, and then once I realized, okay, these are at par, and then again took a mock. I could see some improvement. I could see not so much improvement in my RC. Then I started working on my RC. Again, the whole process, trying to understand what is lacking, whether it's a concept issue, whether it's a timing issue. I realized it was a concept issue. I was not applying the process correctly. I started applying the process correctly, diligently, and I could see that my accuracy improved. And then again,
Mhm.
after taking them out, I could see I could apply those concepts learned effectively, and then yeah, it improved. So
Yeah.
what happened that you will jump from V35 to V40 plus? It's always a step by step process.
Yeah.
Understand, retake, understand, retake, understand, retake. That's it.
Yeah, where understand where that incremental improvement is to go is going to come from, and more often than not, once you reach that 35 plus kind of a score, it has to come from the way you approach the question, because
Yes.
conceptually strong, right?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
concept wise, it's not much different. I think hard questions, um, it's all about the process. Concept wise, I think
yes.
it's the same, but you have to follow the process in order to solve the hard questions correctly.
Mm, very true. So I hope, Dipesh, this answers your question, and now you have enough information with you to cross that V40 barrier. Uh, Himanshu wants to congratulate you. He's saying that he's also a working professional who's just getting started with GMAT journey. Plans to appear in the next 3-4 months. Any suggestions?
Um, I'll say just be consistent. That is the one thing I lacked, and I recommend everybody is be consistent and just keep on iterating. As I suggest, uh, it's possible to get a good score. It's all about applying the process. Um, don't rush. Apply the process diligently. And I know there is a tendency ki not spending a lot of time on the questions. We are always in rush to move to the next question or try to solve the question. But I think spending time on the question will definitely help you. Have a benchmark or have a deadline key. By this time you need to finish this particular section. By this time you need to finish this particular section. Otherwise, it's an endless loop. You'll keep on just studying, keep on just going through the concepts. Once you understand the concepts, just go through the questions. um, I think the practice with practice only you'll get to know whether you need more you need to spend more time on the concept
Mm-hmm.
or to spend more time on the application part. So, yeah.
Got it. So I think we should. There is this nice question there, which is the sort of a perfect ending for today's session. So this is by Benny, who says, "Congratulations! Have you ever felt stuck, not improving, and burnt out while preparing? If yes, what did you do? At how did you just overcome that?"
Yeah, I think it happened uh, with third and fourth attempt only, right? So second attempt after second attempt, I did a lot of things, and I was like, okay, I'm improving. But again, I was like, again, I missed on that SC and RC. In SC, I think I felt things are not improving as I was going through the concept while taking the quizzes, I was performing well, but during the mocks, wasn't performing well. So I felt like I'm stuck with that accuracy. I'm not able to improve. But then understanding why you are stuck, right? What is causing that issue? And I realized that it was the process thing. Like concept wise, I knew what needs to be solved because after doing a mock review, while going through the solution, I could see, okay, I knew this particular concept. I knew this is wrong, and what is the correct answer choice or what is the correct grammatical structure, right? But the process, I was not following the process diligently, so that's why I was lacking. I was not able to improve, and once I started fixing it, I could see my performance improving. So if you are stuck, I think just take a deep breath and just try to analyze where you are lacking, because I don't think anything else can be done
Yeah.
at that point. You have to figure it out, where you are lacking, right? Whether it's a concept issue, whether it's a process issue, whether it's a timing issue, and then tackle that thing. Like just keep chipping it one at a time, one at a time.
Yeah, and have your sight at that end goal, that target, right? Yeah. So awesome, right? So Ayush, really thank you for uh, being here, helping us all, really navigate our GMAT journey, how to overcome the obstacles, how to balance time, and how to, as I think I've repeated this so many times today, how to never give up and believe in oneself and give it your all to get to where you want to get to, right? So, congratulations again. And I, on behalf of everybody here, would want to wish you all the very best for the upcoming application cycle and the, you know, the interviews.
Okay. Thanks a
Thank you
lot,
so
Rich.
much.
Thank you.
And everybody here, thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. I hope we've taken all your questions. If you have any further queries, do feel free to reach out to us, and we'll help you with that. Thank you so much. Good night, or have a nice day wherever you're joining in from. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.